Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Customer-Led Groove. I'm Scott Wilder, and today I'm with Kalina Bryant. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott.
So something about Kalina, she tends to do a lot of things and do a lot of things well. I was looking at her profile, and she and I have talked a lot. She's Forbes Under 30 honoree. She's a founder of Apologetics. She's an advisor to First Round Capital, and also a disclaimer here, she's an advisor to Base, which is sponsoring today's event. So I really want to dig into some of those things, but how do you manage all that?
I just don't stop. That's just the honest truth. I realized it used to be a curse. I used to think I had too many ideas in my head, and I realized that those ideas are actually really good, and just to keep going with it. If it works, works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I don't really limit myself anymore. I want to put as much material out as possible, because it's, I just want to help people. It's impact. And a lot of the things that I've learned, honestly, was just because I had no fear. I was just doing things, and I had no idea that they were actually working until fast forward like a year or 2 or 3 or 5 years down the line, I would be like, oh, wow, I remember I did that. So I just juggle it, because I think the one thing that gets me is when I don't do something, I get really irritated, because like months will pass by and I'll see that someone else has done a version of it. And I'll get irritated because I'll say, I was going to do that, or it was going to look like this. And it's too late, like you can't go backwards. One thing in life, regardless of how wealthy you are, no one can buy time. You can't go backwards. So when people say, how do I do it all? I make a conscious decision to just do it.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about where you're focused today. But I also, probably should have asked this first about how you got to where you are today, and what are some of those key moments? I call them moments of truth. When there's a fork in the road and you're like, I could take both, or I could pick one. So just tell us a little bit about your journey and leading up to what you're doing today.
My journey. Okay. So in 2014, I graduated college, and I was nannying like crazy the month before that. I went to St. Mary's College, California, in Moraga. And if anyone's familiar with that area, La Miranda, the best job you can have is actually just nannying. So I had like 4 or 5 nannying gigs. And so I remember thinking that I was going to go straight into graduate school. And then it just happened that I babysat for one particular guy, awesome guy to this day, Dave. He was going out with his girlfriend, Jean Talley. I'll always have so much gratitude for that woman. At that time, she was the vice president of mid-market sales at Marketo. And I didn't know anything about Marketo, tech, anything like that. They went to dinner, and I always studied. I made sure his kids went to bed on time. I made chocolate chip cookies, etc. And when he came back one night, he was like, are you going to go to graduate school, or you want to work right after? I said, I think I need to work a little bit. Jean Talley gave me her card, and she says, call me when you want a job. So I gave her a call maybe a month after graduating. Went to the interview for an SDR position, sales development representative. I'll never forget, I was irritated that I had to pay $5 to go over the San Mateo Bridge. And I was thinking, wow, $5 Monday through Friday, that's a lot of money.
What is it now, $7?
Yeah, right. And so I remember going to the interview, and before I left the parking lot, I got a call from the recruiter saying I start on Monday. And that was the start of my tech career. Was on the sales floor with all the bros, the super white bros. And here I am, not that. And so that was the first stage of being resilient too, because it wasn't fun to be the only one, and it was just awkward. I just put my head down, and I figured out how to understand the system. I think that that's the most important thing throughout my career, understanding systems. They're all systems, and you just need to figure out how it works for you. And sometimes that means you're creating your own playbook. So that's how my journey really started. And, I always tell people, if you're getting into tech, the best first job you can have is being an SDR, because you take a lot of crap. You see a lot of, nasty things, but you also get very sharp. You have to, have a certain brain, but you also have to have a certain amount of resiliency. And at some point, you just can't really care much about like the opinions of people. You just need to execute. I think that's the biggest thing that being an SDR taught me: execute, execute, execute. And craft out your journey. You know, like how I was getting my ops, sometimes it was just so unethical. Like I remember, you know, we would, when the phone rang, like if you could be the quickest one to get the phone, then that meant that you might have hit your number because you got a good op. So, I mean, if you think about it, it was not an ethical layout. It was like Game of Thrones type of crap, you know, like you were just like in it. And I mean, it felt good when you were winning and it felt horrible when you were losing. But I would say that carved my path to like being who I am right now. I'm extremely innovative. You know, I just try things. I have a lot of grit, a lot of resiliency, and you know, I just don't care sometimes. You know, I think about the vision, I think about the impact that I need to make, and I just stay focused and I silence noises. But I give all of that credit, honestly, to that one solid year of being an SDR. So I hope that answers it. That's how I started. I was babysitting, trying to save money, babysitting all these kids. I happened to babysit the right kid at the right time and got the job. And then I took a job and I didn't quit. That was the thing. I just didn't quit. People were dropping like flies. I was, you know, in a position where sometimes the person that I was sitting next to, if we went to lunch, they would be sitting next to me. And when we got back, I've experienced people saying, pack your stuff up, and that person wouldn't be sitting next to me anymore. They would be getting fired because they didn't hit their number. So, you know, it's like a mixture of like PTSD because you don't want to be that person. You know, so I mean, and if you think about it, nothing has changed. The only difference is like I see people, you know, getting laid off in bigger roles now or bigger companies. But I would say like it took some grit and it took, you know, courage too, because if I was going to do the normal status quo, I should be, you know, a therapist by now with all these degrees and probably a shit ton of, you know, debt. And I looked at the world and I said, you know, I don't want to have any debt. I don't want to have to owe anyone. And tech was my gateway to actually make true impact, have a good living, and do something that I loved. And that's the route that I chose.
You know, it's amazing. It's amazing listening to you because, you know, it comes out as, yeah, you're fearless, you're innovative. But this real humbleness as well. I mean, you know, a lot of people, when I talk to about where they started, they're not going to talk about babysitting, right? You know, and I just think that's great. Maybe it's because I'm a father and I have 2 kids and I'm always trying to find a babysitter, but I think it's more just like, you know, it's really amazing. You know, I do want to talk to you a little bit about customer-led growth, but I also want to talk to you about apologetic and just, you know, I know that's something that's really close to your heart. And that's kind of also, you know, to be honest, how I got to know you, because I was invited to an event you had. So maybe just talk a little bit about what that is, how you got started in that, and what the mission is.
Yeah. So Unapologetic was created in 2020. I was at a startup and, you know, was really killing it, loved every program that I was building around customer-led growth. And then George Floyd took place. And that was a moment of my life where I just didn't understand how to articulate like my feelings. I didn't know how to articulate, to be fair, like being the only Black leader in a room anymore. Originally, I used to put so much pressure on myself because it's like, oh, you're the only one, so you have to be the best. And I realized how unhealthy that was. And it wasn't like someone was sitting there willing to like listen to my true feelings or thoughts. You know, they didn't care. Or I would say it's not that they didn't care. I think some people just aren't educated enough to understand that you're a human being first, unfortunately. And so I thought more so about my frustrations. And then I thought, well, how many other people feel the way I do? And how many people voices are, you know, there's no space for us to tell our journeys or like give our 2 cents. And so I was really sketching out different ways of like, how can I bring impact? How can I share my thoughts with the world? So originally it was going to be a blog. And then fast forward, I was like, no, I'm going to do a podcast. And this is before like everybody was doing podcasts, right? It was taboo, right? I was like, I'm going to do a podcast maybe. And I was like, well, what am I going to call that? You know, and at that time, you know, Rihanna was playing in the background. And I was like, well, I'm going to be like unapologetic. And it was like, well, you're in tech, so how about we just take off TIC and put TECH? And so to this day, like I trademarked it and I was like, oh, let's just run with it. And before you know it, I wanted to interview specifically women of color on how they were navigating. And I wanted specifically to do like director and above women of color that were in hypergrowth technology companies and showcasing like how they made it, because it was very rare to see that individual in that role. And so I gathered, I think it was like 7 ladies, and I just interviewed them like crazy and just wanted to bring them to the mic. And one thing that I promised them was that they could be as raw as possible and they can, you know, tell their journey, give advice, and I promised to never edit them. And that was one thing that I realized, you know, that's a costly thing, right? Because in everything that we do, someone's always editing or telling you what you can do. The higher you go, there's like, you know, a PR person behind the scenes saying, oh, you know, you got to put this face on, you got to say this word. I wanted to promise that I'm not going to edit you. So if you like it, if you approve it, you can go on forward with it. It received really great reviews. And then I said, you know, I kind of want to do some training, some coaching. So I said, well, why don't I just turn Unapologetic into an actual LLC? And just start coaching people on how to navigate the industry. I started originally on like just resume building for people and helping them with their interviews. And I didn't realize, you know, I was helping people go from like 30% increases. And for me, I was like, oh, this is cool, I like it.
Did you get a commission?
Yeah, you know, I started getting paid for these coaching gigs, and you know, it was interesting because I never really thought about the money. I just thought about, I just want to help someone. I just want people to, you know, not experience some of the things that I personally had to experience. And then so fast forward, it was training, and then I started doing all these different things where, you know, I wanted to run events. I wanted to, you know, train and like tell people how to run programs, and it was becoming a lot for me. And then I also wanted to create my own community. And so, you know, through the evolution of everything, we now have our nonprofit, which is the Unapologetic Circle. That's a community dedicated to people that are just trying to navigate this industry, whether you're young, Black, you know, mixed, whatever you want to call it. If you need help, yeah, old, yeah, I don't, there's no discrimination on that community, right? Like if you need some help and you're in tech and you just need some tools, that's why I created the community. It's a free community that's designed for you to hopefully get the templates that you need, the resume tips that you need. It's just a resource portal. And then on the flip side, I really wanted to continue on, you know, how can I just continuously train people? I was getting to a point in my career where I wouldn't say I had did it all, but when it came to like customer-led growth, you know, I've done several customer advisor boards, several events, several, you know, G2 crowd reviews, you name it. And it's not that it's not fun anymore, but I figured it out. So I said, well, how can I challenge myself more? So I started, you know, advising different VCs, advising different companies, and training new people to basically be successful in my playbook for customer-led growth. And it's been, you know, taking off as a pretty solid business. And I love it because every day is different. I would say every client that I receive, they all have different problems. Ultimately, like they want to put their customer first, but it's just a new challenge. So for me, that means that it's a new playbook. And so it's been rewarding, and I don't get bored because there's always something for me to like figure out for that company. And it's really liberating when CEOs call you and like their heads are like, whoa. You know, for me, I'm like, you want advice from me? Cool. And then when they call me back saying it worked, I'm like, oh, you got something going there, Kalina. And so that's how Unapologetic came about, you know, podcasts, trying to just uplift voices, and then fast forward training. I would say everything with Unapologetic is impact driven. You know, I think that there's enough room all the time. I always say this to people, there's enough room for us all to be successful, especially in the tech industry. It doesn't have to be so cutthroat, and I don't understand why people don't like to share knowledge. So the whole mission behind it was, let me give you the tools that I wish I had, you know, before I got into the industry. Because I mean, I had to fight for every little thing that I have, you know, like everything that, I mean, one day, you know, I put a hat on. One day I had to, you know, understand like basically how to be a lawyer almost to protect myself. And some days I had to learn like how to have strategy, how to talk, how to speak, you know, how to have executive presence, all this stuff. There's no one that actually showed me that. I would be in my room on a laptop figuring out like, okay, I gotta be this way today. I have to show up this way, or I have to present this. I mean, the amount of anxiety that I've had in the course of my career is probably not the healthiest thing, but I would say it did make me very relentless. And I would say my gift to the world now is I just don't want you to have to go through so many things that I went through. So I make sure that anything that I know or the people that I know, I make sure I bring you together. I make sure I'm a resource to you. And if I can't give you what you need, I guarantee you I know somebody that can give you what you need. So I'm the connector. And so I build a business that's strictly around connecting and making sure that people are successful and putting their customers first, whether that's a individual trying to get into the professional layout and tech and customer advocacy, or whether that's a company that's trying to figure out what is customer advocacy.
So, I mean, it's an amazing story. So I know you've helped a lot of these, whether it's the C-level or other individuals. What kind of scorecard would you give? I basically interact with Silicon Valley a lot, but let's just say Silicon Valley for now. What kind of scorecard would you give Silicon Valley in terms of, making advancement in some of the areas you're talking about? Like, I feel like, I moved out here in 91, and obviously things are better than they are then, but how much better, I mean, I know that's a long time. You probably weren't even born then, but I'm just curious.
Yeah,
Like,
I wasn't actually.
yeah. So, well, I was only 2 then. So, do you feel like progress is being made at a good pace? Do you feel like what are the opportunities for companies? And I think, because what you're saying also is it's almost like we need to, what I'm hearing is a certain type of empathy that people need to develop, not just for what you're saying, but also if they do want to be customer focused. I mean, I see there's like this Venn diagram between the two. So I'm just curious if, from your angle, how things are going.
It's just an interesting question. And I would say, full disclosure, this is just my opinion. No one has to take it. But I would say, I feel like Silicon Valley, we talk about the same things. We go on circles.
Yeah.
The same thing that, was bothering me when I first started off in tech in 2014, it's still happening. I'll be almost 10 years in tech in 2024. Next year is 2023. And think about it, I still talk about the same thing. The only difference now is, instead of like knocking on people's doors to like beg them to listen, I now have created my own door, and I open it and I just talk about what I see, and I pull in the right people to actually make action. So I feel like there's always opportunity to grow, but I do think that sometimes we're just going in circles, because the people at the top, at the highest, they care to a certain extent, but it's never a priority. I would say that, when someone gets promoted or gets to a certain level, sometimes they forget to educate individuals on how they got there. So it's just creating like this constant circle of the next person is trying to figure out everything on their own, and instead of us just sharing the knowledge. I truly don't understand why the Valley is so selfish when it comes to this. I mean, just having a meeting with someone and just saying like, hey, I'd probably do it this way. It doesn't mean you have to take the advice, but people is so selfish when it comes to like, maybe don't do this mistake. It's free to tell someone advice on like, here's how I've done X, Y, and Z. I feel like people just generally don't at times want to help, which I will never understand that. So I would say for Silicon Valley, there's a lot of programs that get put in place, and, the programs people start it, they don't finish it, they don't scale it. But I think that sometimes the thing that I see is missing is this true honesty and authenticity that's missing. We have all these buzzwords in Silicon Valley, but sometimes they're buzzwords with no weight behind them. And so when someone is saying, hey, I care about diversity and inclusion, okay, period. Sometimes that's all I say.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
When someone says, I care about customers and I care about making sure that they're treated fairly or right, then I have another period, and I'm like, okay. And also then I see that there's, not enough engagement going on with the customers. Like when you get in the nitty gritty, all the values that you see, I just sometimes find it hard that people are actually standing true to those values. I think that there's great marketing teams out there that pull the values that you need and also pull in nice imagery, makes the website look really nice. So it makes you think, oh, great, I'm going to work at that company. They understand me. And then you get in and it's still the same issues. But I think in order to do that, people need to become extremely honest, you know, and I think also we need to make it a little bit safer for people to make mistakes. We, in the tech industry, we always say, oh, just try it and you can, you know, make a mistake. Sometimes it's not like that for everyone. Some people do have the luxury to make a mistake and keep going. Other individuals don't have that same, it's not an equal playing field. So I would say for Silicon Valley, I think it's time for us to step up and actually like be open to honesty, and open to understanding your flaws. Because if you can actually admit your flaws, then you can actually solve problems. But if you want to walk around thinking that nothing is wrong, and this goes from customer-led growth, if you think that your customers are extremely happy, but you don't want to admit that a certain percentage of your accounts are churning, how are you going to fix the problem? You know, like, how are you actually going to be like white glove treatment if you don't actually want to talk about where you messed up and how can you fix that problem? Sometimes people are so quick to put things under the rug, and that goes for, I would say, D&I efforts, but also specifically customer-led growth. A successful business will take place if you have customers and if you can retain them. But if you can't retain them, then you have no business. So therefore, when people don't put customer-led growth as the #1 priority, they wonder why a year from now or 2 quarters they're not hitting their numbers. And sometimes they rely on certain customers that they think are happy and they keep renewing. All of a sudden, if you didn't talk to that customer for months at a time, and all of a sudden their account is in red, and then they leave and go to your competition, and you don't know why, that's your answer right there. You didn't check in on them. Yeah, I mean, let's take it back to just being a, you know, my undergrad is in psychology. Let's talk about being a human being. Like, if you want someone to pay you, give them a good service. And that's not just a product, but also like empathy as a human being. That's all customer-led growth is. If you want to generate more revenue, treat people how you want to be treated. It's so simple. Same thing with diversity and inclusion. Yeah. If you want to actually have like great D&I programs and like have people speak highly, I mean, treat people how you want to be treated. You know, like, don't treat me as a Black woman. Don't treat me as just a female. Just treat me as a human being, because you're a human being. And guess what? We would all make progress. But in order to get to that point, you have to be honest about your flaws. We have to be honest about our bias in the world. We have to be honest about, hey, you're not there yet, but we can probably get there together. And that goes for customers specifically too. I've seen firsthand, if you're honest with a customer to say, hey, yeah, we've sort of messed up, let's see how we can work this out. Do you know how much respect that you get from a customer if you can just admit that maybe you didn't do something right? That's a partner right now. That's not a customer anymore. All of a sudden they're like, oh, you listened to me. So therefore, you can now expect 3 to 5 years of retained revenue now, because you're not just a product or not just a typical Silicon Valley company. You're now a partner. You're now someone that they see as an individual that they can particularly trust. So I can go on this rant for a long time, but it's just so basic. Like, sometimes I try to explain to people, think about the psychology of how as a human being you want to be treated, and then maybe just take that advice and do it. Like, if you want someone to be nice to you and say good morning to you and actually ask you how you're doing, maybe you should say, hey, good morning, how are you doing? If you want a customer to love you and retain and answer your emails, maybe you should email them when they don't have a problem, and just email them to see how things are going.
Yeah, no, I think the problem is even farther upstream of just getting in the room with the customer. If people have heard me talk before, before COVID, in most of the companies I worked at, we would have customers come to our staff meetings, like bring them in, make, to your point, make them a true partner. Because one of the other games I also like to play, I'm from New York, so we like to play a lot of games, but is asking people, when's the last time you really talked to a customer? And I mean, like, got in the same room as them or same Zoom room, because that's what we do these days. And it always shocks me when I was And I do talk about Intuit a lot because the founder would always say, so Scott, when's the last time you spent the day at a small business's office? And I'd be like, I haven't done that recently. Good point. But then I knew the next time I went there. And so that, admittedly, I had to develop that, that habit of saying, I'm going to talk to a customer every day. I'm going to spend a day every month or 2 days every month inside a customer's place of work and understand who they are as human beings, they wanted us to, or they trained us, I should say, and it's terrible to use the word train, but I'll use it as like, not only understand what other applications people are using, but also look at the pictures on their desk. So you understand their family, look at their office and see who else is in the other rooms. And I think that whole being empathetic or walking in the customer's shoes is really important. You've put together some amazing programs in terms of how to get closer to the customer. Maybe you can just share 2 or 3 of those that you've put together and how they have helped you be more customer focused or customer led.
Yeah, I would say at every single company I've been at in tech, I have created a customer advisory board. And it's interesting because I wouldn't say it's simple, but I would say the mission and thought process behind why you need a customer advisory board is actually quite simple. You want to get a certain amount of customers in a room that you admire, that you respect, and ultimately you want them to stay with you long term. And ideally, you want to get those individuals in a room to give feedback on your product or their experience from a customer perspective. And just really be honest with you on, are we hitting the bar? And as an organization, what else would you like to see from us? It's just solid feedback, hardcore customer feedback. And the one thing about feedback is if you're getting it from a customer, there's no bias in it. If you think that everything is great and then you get, the best customers that you have in a room and they tell you, I don't like that, how are you going to argue with them? They're using the product.
Yeah.
And so I would say the customer advisory board, that's like my sweet spot. That is something that if I ever left tech, that would be like my stamp in the tech industry. Being able to formulate supreme customer advisory boards and ensuring that they impact the business. The second thing I would say is customer engagement meetups, so our executive dinners. That's my sweet spot. I would say in between the customer advisory board, I always, when it goes really well, what I actually try to do is have a customer advisory board meeting happen the same day or maybe the next day that I have a executive meetup. And the reason why I do that is because it's so special. If you can do it just right, to have your elite customers in a room that has given you all this feedback and they really think they're a partner, to be able to meet with them and like have a nice drink with them and a nice meal, it's something, I don't know how to explain it, but it's a type of experience that you understand when you're doing a great job and when they trust you. It's unbelievable. That's true community. Someone that wants to basically show up on their off hours. If a customer is going to give you their time, between, let's say, 5 to 9 p.m., and they actually show up. Do you know how many other obligations people have? People have families, people have just extracurricular activities. If they show up to your event out of all the other companies that are doing events, and they stay longer to a point where they just want to laugh and chat with you, that is the best experience that you can ever give a customer. And that, I think, is one of the best measurements of if your company's doing great when it comes to customer experience. If you can't get your customers to show up for a free dinner and free booze in usually a nice venue, nice rooftop venue, we need to talk. I think you should call me. You really should. You should call me and tell me I'm messing up. I can't get one customer to show up for a fancy bourbon and fancy filet mignon. If you cannot get that, what on earth are you doing? How long are you going to be afloat? I wonder that. Those are simple questions. But those are my favorite. programs because I'm really all about engagement. I do see myself as a revenue leader, but I see myself as a revenue leader based on the experiences that I can provide for your, high level customers. I think that you need both. And I think that customer-led growth folks should be seen as revenue leaders instead of just, nothing's wrong with marketing, nothing's wrong with CS, but we are so much more than that. You have to have both hats. You have to have an eye for branding. You have to have an eye for messaging. You have to have an eye for how you articulate like what you're doing for your customers. And then on the flip side, you need to be able to measure and make sure that you're giving a certain concept to your customers for them to know that they're valued. And in all honesty, you also need to be able to perform to a point where if you have prospects or if you have like late stage customers that are ready for expansions or upsell, you need to be in a position where you know how to sell to them, but not selling to them, if that makes sense. You need to be able to sit there and have a conversation with them and not have them feel like you're the AE or the salesperson, but instead just a partner that wants to do the best for them, which is actually quite true. Like when we're speaking with you, we have your best interest as a customer. We want to make sure that you are satisfied. We don't want to trick you. If you're a customer-led growth person, your main thing is to ensure happiness and satisfaction. It's the core values of customer-led growth. I would say titles or positions. We come from a background where we're empathetic. We come from a background where we're extremely creative, and we come from a background where we're usually extremely operations driven, or we have some analytical background. And so with those three components, we're thinking about so many different things. And so I think that if you're going to be successful or ask yourself, what's the two programs? I would say always sit down and look at your business, but also look at your leadership too, because I've been in certain positions too, where, you can have a wonderful plan, a great playbook, but if you don't, it takes a team, right? And it takes people that are bought into your vision. So I would always ask yourself, like, if you're going to be in a customer-led growth role, what does your boss want? Regardless if that's a CEO, marketing manager, or director, whatever, that is going to show your success, right? So when I've done the best in my positions in customer-led growth, it's because I've had, number one, a great leader that wanted this success just as much as me. And number two, I had a great team, and not just like a team under me, but a team on cross-functional, departments where they pull themselves in. If they were an operations person, they pulled in their expertise for operations. If they were a CS person, they pulled in their CS expertise. If they were a salesperson, same thing. And if they were the C-level, I've even had, CEOs, mainly most of my customer advisory boards, every CEO shows up and they're giving thought leadership story of how they got to where they are and why their company's so important. But if your CEO can't show up to your customer advisory board, why do you even have it? As a CEO, I don't care how big you're getting, you can show up for 10 minutes to your customer advisory board with C-levels or VPs that admire your product. You just can't show up to give your presence. If you can't do that, then I think that unfortunately sets you up for failure, because then there's a lack of buy-in. And then also, if you have a leader that keeps asking you, why do we have this customer advisory board? Why are we putting in money to have a dinner? If they have to ask you that question, I would ask, why did you hire me? If you have to constantly go to bat every single day and tell your boss why you really need this program for the customers, I think, unfortunately, you might already be set up for failure, because that person needs to be your advocate, needs to be your sponsor, needs to push for you, needs to get the revenue or the budget for you to actually do a successful event. And then I would say, number three, if you don't have cross-functional members that believe in what you're doing, then I think it's really hard to set these programs up for success. When I've seen my programs work extremely well, it's because there's a CS manager that is banking on attending that event because he wants to talk to his customers just as much as you want to get that customer to show up. And then also from a sales leader perspective, whether you're the chief revenue officer or the enterprise AE or even the SDR, you want to see that deal close just as much as anyone else. And for a fact that if you can just talk to them in person, the deal would close. So therefore, like they're so happy to do that event. And then I would say from an operation and marketing perspective, it's brand for them too, right? Like in every event, I've always had a photographer, in some instances, even a videographer.
Yep.
The branding is so important because you want to be able to, put that information back on the website. You want to repeat and watch. So if your marketing team doesn't understand the value of customer meetups or customer dinners, I mean, there's a problem there too, because everyone needs content. I mean, if you do a great customer event, that's like 3 blogs, of like how you did it, testimonials, you name it. And if a marketing team doesn't understand that, I think that those are things that give you red flags, and you should probably find your value somewhere else.
Yeah, no, a lot of really. No, it's more than 2 cents. It's there's a lot there, especially the cross-functional part that the C-level has to be really commit to customers. My latest mantra is change the title from a chief marketing officer to customer marketing officer. More politically correct, and also the customers there. And then just repurposing content or leveraging these opportunities for content. I have tons of things that I want to ask you, but we'll have to get you back on the show at some point. But before I go, is there anything I haven't asked you today that you're like, damn, Wilder, why didn't you ask me?
Let's see. You can ask me what's next for me.
Okay, so what is next for you? I want to know. We all want to know.
So what is next? I am currently in the process of writing a book, and I am also spearheading my training company. I truly, truly want to just educate people. If it was up to me, I would be fully booked with clients that want to truly have customer-led growth and just generate playbooks that fit their needs. And then also from a professional development perspective, I think that if you're developing the playbook and putting the programs in place, you do need to have solid, professionals. So I'm going all in of doing a training and coaching platform where I hope to hire a great team that we're just executing and making sure that every company is customer-led, growth-driven.
And can you share a little bit about the book?
Yes, not too much, but I will share a little bit. It is basically my love letter to the tech industry on how I navigate it, and just advice to anyone that's getting up and starting into this world and in the tech world specifically. It's my love letter to showcase what worked for me, what didn't work. If I could change it, here's what I would do. And it's basically just the Bible, basically my version of the tech Bible. So we're going with it.
That's awesome. Well, if you need a proofreader, let me know.
I might take you up on that.
Well, I recently, people won't be able to see if it's on a podcast, but I've been given some transcripts recently to people who started having me edit things.
Hey, I might really take you up on that. The manuscript is getting big.
This one's really big. It's a great book. It's coming out. It's called Forget the Funnel. But anyway, it's been great having you on the show. Anything else you want to say before we end?
No, thank you so much for starting this, Scott. Thank you for providing a mic to us all. Like that's the best thing ever someone can give. Best gift is giving someone the mic.
Well, thank you. It's been really great having you. So thank you again. And this is Scott Wilder, and this has been Customer-Led Groove. And by the way, we just launched the CLG campus. So you'll be able to hear this podcast on the campus or at Apple or Google or Amazon or Alexa. I can't say it too loud, Alexa, because she's going to go off. There she goes in the background. But thank you very much. And we'll see and listen to everybody at the next episode. Thanks.